I understand that. Don't read.
Welcome to the No Filter Podcast. We are back from our little hiatus. We have done the things that we felt like we needed to do. And as promised, this is still season one, bitches. Y'all gonna have to deal with the break. How are you, Miss Ari?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am here breathing the air that I'm permitted to breathe, graciously and thankfully. How are you, Mr. Mookie? Ain't gonna say nothing about him feeding his face right
What?
What you eating?
What you say?
How are you, Mr. Mookie?
I'm good.
Okay. So, yeah, as promised, today's topic is gonna be the timeline. And for those who are confused, the timeline is sort of the timeline of events. And when I say events, it's because I don't think people truly understand the timeline. Like things happen in a particular order, in a particular way, and it happened to a particular group of people. So, in honor of our month, which is technically a year, because I do this all year long, we are going to outline a couple things. It is a widely held belief that the pirate Christopher Columbus came across the sea in 1492. Is this correct, y'all? I'm going to even include y'all in my breakdown of the timeline. This is what we were taught in school, right? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right?
I'm out. I'm done. I'm out. Bye. I'm out.
Well, okay, no. Listen, right? So this man was Italian born, and the trip, the boat names, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, was paid for by Spain and the Catholics. However, it is attributed to the British. Correct? Is this like this? We know this. This is all factual information. So if the British and the Spanish already had an established trade route to India, why was they looking for another way? That's all I'm saying. I'm not drawing any conclusions. I'm not jumping out the window. I'm just saying, like, you know, when a group of people hire another group of people that employs another group of people, there's usually some nefarious shit going on. That's all I was saying. No, you know, at any rate, we also are aware that the pirate Christopher Columbus never actually set foot in North America, right? So we understand he hit the Caribbean, Central and South America, right? So we're aware of this, right? So that's 1492. Here we move to 1526, right? So we got the transatlantic slave trade starting up, dealing with Brazil, right? So this is why there's lots of folks of color everywhere. Like folks don't know. Oh, yeah, right. So, and when he got here, there were some folks. They was brown. They was brown. They wasn't all that light skinned. I just gotta put that out. Because we all know the Moors had already traveled the world because they had star maps and shit, but whatever. And then we get into our particular brand of what we were force fed for the majority of our young lives, right? Because they kind of skip from 1492 and then they like, boom, Plymouth Rock. But that was 1620. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you got to put that into perspective, right? So the Mayflower gets to Plymouth Rock in 1620. Now listen to this small detail that has been omitted from most of our histories. In 1619, the first African slaves were brought to the United States. So if that's the case, how is the Mayflower commonly referred to as being the first ship here? How does that work? Exactly. Like I'm just curious. Do y'all have any indication in time, right? How time works? Because we are not the fucking Avengers, right? We don't have the PEM particles, and we don't have the quantum shit. Mookie, why are you being extra, bro? I'm just asking, right? So if Plymouth Rock has been recorded as 1620, but historically speaking, the first slaves arrived in North America in 1619, how is the Mayflower and the Pilgrims that hopped off of that motherfucker, how does that work? If you don't have an answer, I'll accept that. And I'm gonna just move on down the timeline, because the timeline gets more interesting. Nothing, no comments. How about you, Art? Do you have any? You have any sidebar? What's up?
I have none. Keep going.
Okay, so we're gonna skip, right? Because I'm just gonna go with, because I'm talking about us, right? I ain't talking about them, I'm talking about us. So the first slaves, 1619, Plymouth Rock, 1620. We're gonna jump all the way to 1863. What happens in 1863? Nobody's gonna ask. Y'all don't want to participate.
This is your podcast, bro.
This is not my podcast. This is simply the timeline of events, so we can start talking about this month and the reality of the situation.
That's why we're letting you.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go down the timeline, and y'all can interject at any moment, right? Whenever y'all feel froggy. But in 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation. Honest Abe, my man with the top hat and the bullet in the back of the dome and the fizz, said that if he could have kept us slaves and kept the Union together, if he could have not freed a single one of us and kept the Union together, that's the route he would have went. But that's what he said. So basically, he let us go by default, right? So he really not no hero. I don't know why he celebrated. It's interesting, to say the least. I'm not even gonna get into his questionable genealogy and things of this nature. We're gonna move past the Emancipation Proclamation, right? Because we free. Now, interestingly enough, we're gonna add this caveat. You got a bunch of free Black folk running around, recently freed, and this is commonly the time where we start talking about the push west and the Western push and the gold rush and the frontier, all this shit going on, like blah 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 blah. And we watch all these movies with all these cowboys doing all of these things, and they're surprisingly devoid of niggas. I don't understand how a bunch of recently freed slaves, former slaves, exist, but they're not accounted for. Well, whatever. Anyway, moving on.
It's a very simple explanation.
Oh no, look, I'm not explaining anything. This is just a recount of the timeline before I get on to more joyous activities. That's why I said the timeline is the timeline. There's no dispute to the timeline. Anyone who wishes to dispute the timeline only needs to play this podcast back, hit pause, look up the particular year that I stated, shut the fuck up and read, and then know there's no questioning what the fuck I just said. Boom. So 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation, right? So you got these free Black folks running around, yada yada yada. Boom. 1896, the historical case of Plessy versus Ferguson, the doctrine which established separate but equal, which has Black folks living under the Jim Crow South, the Jim Crow laws, like, right? So Separate but equal is what got us our colored water fountains and our, got to go to the back door of the theaters, separate neighborhoods, blah, 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 blah. Basically, even though we had worked amongst these folks, fed their kids off the titty of Black women, tilled their fields, cleaned their houses, all of a sudden, they want some shit to be separate, even though we built everything. Cool, bet, not a problem. Moving on in the timeline, right? Because this is where the timeline really gets interesting, because all of that shit sounds like it was a long ass time ago, right? But this is where the timeline starts to fuck your head up. So in 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, the historical fucking Supreme Court case that established separate but equal doctrine. But that's 1896. In 4 years, we're in the 1900s. And this is why the shit gets interesting. Because now that we're in the 1900s, shit is happening, shit is moving, right? Boom, yeah, World War I, right? We already know. We went, we fought, we did things. We weren't fucking given the same benefits or entitlements as other soldiers, right? So moving on, boom, you hit 1920, right? I'm kind of 10-year jumping. So you get to 1920, you get the roaring 20s. We've seen this, we love this, this is beautiful, this is all great. We've watched it all over the TV and the news and stories about it and all types of fucking great events. Boom. Then you get to the 1930s, the Great Depression. The Great Depression actually started in 1929, but we're just going to call it the 1930s, right? So the 1930s establishes the Great Depression. So now we're at the 1940s. We're in World War II. Once again, Black folks, we here, we've been here, you've been living side by side, the whole shebang, go to war with you, fight for the country, the whole nickel and dime. Boom, not a problem. Come back, still can't get no housing, still can't do shit, still getting hung, still getting lynched, still getting fucking murdered in the street, the whole shebang. Fucking white girls say, hey, he whistled at me. They beat the fuck out you, mama leave the casket open type shit, like boom. All of these things are occurring kind of during this time frame, right? So we moving to the 1950s. We know the tragedy of the shit that happened in the 1950s. However, commonly depicted television shows would have you believe that the whole housewife thing and all of that shit was a real thing during the 1950s. Not going to spend a lot of time on the 1950s, just going to move the fuck on past the 1950s. But understand, we are now at the 1960s, the era of civil rights. We know historically what has happened during this time. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on civil rights. I'm just going to say we are now at civil rights. So you get the widespread assassination of Black folks, the fucking locking up folks who are still locked up, just political prisoners, just completely locked up for no fucking apparent reason. Like, we're organizing, doing whatever we're doing. They're like, no, we ain't having it. Charismatic leaders pop up, say, hey, Black folks, unite. Let's get ourselves together. The United States government owes us this and should do this for us because we helped build this country. Nope, kill that nigga on the fucking balcony, kill that nigga in front of his kids, kill that nigga in the apartment building with his pregnant wife. You name it, that's what the fuck they did, right? So we know this. This is factual information. This is not my opinion. That shit happened. All right, so we are now in the 1970s. We now have rampant poverty, right? We all know the 70s to be poverty-stricken as hell. This is the birth of hip-hop and the deplorable conditions that Black folks is living in the buildings, the whole shebang, yada, yada, yada. We understand what the 70s is, right? We all know this. We watch television shows about that shit as well. It's like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. These motherfuckers was fucking 6 deep to a 2-bedroom house. Fucking, you got little Janet Jackson getting burnt with the iron, all types of other crazy shit going on. Boom. Moving on. Now we're in the 1980s. Crack, drugs, rampant drug use, right? Delivered, quote unquote, by the CIA to Los Angeles, California, Iran-Contra, blah, 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 blah. Whatever, moving on. So from the birth of crack, we have the 1990s. Crime bill, super predator time, right? So now they back locking us up again, right? Because the children of those radical civil rights folks who were finally becoming inspired and trying to find a Black identity, They was lawless, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say that they was lawless. They was lawless according to the law. Motherfuckers was like, they just wasn't listening to shit, right? Fuck all that African medallion shit. Fuck the crack and the drugs you sold to have money, the whole shebang. Like we cut you out of the American dream. You found another way to get it. We don't like it. Lock these motherfuckers up. Throw away the key. 15 years old. It's 2020 now. Some of them motherfuckers ain't never been out of jail. Crazy, right? That's the timeline. Then you get to the 2000s. The 2000s, we're going to call the current time. Mostly anyone who will be listening to this podcast will remember the 2000s because we know in 2001, the towers fell, right? So most of our lives have been defined by whatever happened after the towers fell. So there's no extra breakdown of the dates. Now, for y'all, tell me that is not the wildest timeline you ever heard. Because when you be talking to like white peers and associates and coworkers, don't them motherfuckers be acting like we've been free forever? Like dead ass, not like real shit. I'm not joking. When you really think about it, because they be like, slavery happened over 400 years. No, bitch, that's not a fact. I understand why you're saying what you're saying. I understand why you're saying it like that. I understand when you say slavery happened over 400 years ago. No, bitch, the slaves got here over 400 years ago. Don't fucking play with me. Like our great grandparents were there for Plessy versus Ferguson. No, listen. No, I'm saying Plessy versus Ferguson, right?
Oh, okay.
That's 1890 something.
Yeah.
So our great grandparents, because most of our grandparents were born in the early 1900s. So our great grandparents were there when they established the doctrine, which means they were part of the slave trade.
Real shit.
And then you get to your grand. So depending upon how old you are, you get to your grandparents. Your grandparents lived through no bullshit. The Roaring 20s, the Great Depression, World War II, the fucking 50s bullshit, and civil rights, and the rampant poverty in the 1960s. Most of them started dying in the 90s. So they lived through the crack epidemic, watching their children be completely wiped off the map from crack and or the civil rights movement. So when we're talking to our associates, friends, whatever the fuck we're going to classify them as, whoever they are in any individual moment, are we obligated to remind these motherfuckers of what the timeline is? That's the reason I called it the timeline, because y'all know me. When I speak about racial matters, I usually add the caveat, I am the first generation with civil rights, because I need motherfuckers to understand I am the first generation with civil rights. So when you're talking to me, I'm not going to let you talk to me about slavery happening 400 fucking years ago, and you don't directly benefit from anything that those people did. That's bullshit, because I understand I directly benefited from the knowledge and information that was given to my grandmother and my mother, and I got to meet some of my great grands. So I'm not buying what they sell. And I don't have a vivid memory of the great grands. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. Like I wasn't sitting at the feet of them. However, I was sitting at the foot of my grandmother. Like I actually held the newspapers that fucking were printed when JFK was assassinated. I seen that. I seen the newspapers, the actual newspapers and the ads from when Martin Luther King was assassinated, from when Malcolm got dropped, from when Fred Hampton fucking got dropped. I seen that shit. Like I got to hold the actual newspaper. Like I'm not talking about look online in a clip. I'm talking about my grandmother had the wherewithal to put that shit in a plastic bag, set it in the fucking basement. And then when we was doing shit in the basement and cleaning, I came across it. I'm like, yo, I'm a child, but this is crazy as hell. Because my grandmother got a week's worth of newspapers from each of those fucking times. So how does it work when we talk to motherfuckers and they talking to us? And I'm talking about personal, like, because y'all know I give zero fucks about people who give zero fucks about me. So typically, I'm not talking about random Joe Schmo on the internet, because I'm not finna argue with you, bro. I'm finna send you your motherfucking address and pictures of your wife. I got better shit to do with my time. My thing is, when you're talking to someone you actually know, and they hit you with some bullshit that you know is bullshit, are we obligated to remind them of at least the minimum of the timeline? Because people don't fucking know. There's some niggas that don't know. And I said all of that without really harping on rap music, no conspiracies, no nothing. Because we could break down the conspiracies. We could talk about COINTELPRO. We could talk about them taking over fucking hip hop. We talk about them fucking stealing the blues. We can talk about stealing rock and roll. We ain't talking about none of that shit. I'm just simply saying the established timeline. I believe motherfuckers should know it.
The thing is that everything, as much as we want to believe that this is
don't say we want to believe nothing. Whatever road you're going, look, you are on the yellow brick road. But remember, when Dorothy is standing there on that yellow brick road, there are some red bricks in between them. I'm on that road. So you don't say we until you finish the statement, and then I'll tell you if I agree.
I fucking hate you.
Because I know the road you about to go down. I'm on the red bricks that gets closer to the flying monkeys a lot fucking faster.
The thing of it is that the knowledge that you have imparted upon the podcast is not common knowledge. It's not. And that's for everybody, like in general. And like nobody knows or nobody likes to think or talk about it. And that's the
okay, issue. Pause.
Yes.
Pause, bro. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Dead ass serious. You say no one knows the timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll agree with that. However, I have an issue with the fact no one knows the timeline, because a motherfucker will tell you all about what their grandparents did during the Great Depression. They'll tell you all about some super cowboy shit. We was in love with the genre for fucking years. Like, this is just factual information. So that's the 1800s. You tell me all about the 1950s and the bobby socks and the sock hop and the dress and the dresses and the motherfucking the drive-in and all this other shit and how great your grandparents were. You tell me all about World War II. You tell me all about World War I.
Correct.
But notice, I named those shits a long goddamn time ago. There's a bunch of other shit that happened over the couple decades that happened after that shit. So you telling me that you don't, that motherfuckers can be excused to not know our history?
Wait.
And we were all side by side. No, I'm saying, like, because you're saying, you saying, okay, motherfuckers don't know. But see, my argument can't, like, I don't think that argument will ever hold water with me, because notice, I go all the way back to 1492, right?
Right.
I started at 1492 for a fucking reason, because we all know that date.
Correct.
So why you don't know the dates after that?
I wish I
see
could.
That's right. Right.
I really do wish I had an answer for you, because it's just
no. That's rhetorical. You ain't got to answer that. You know me. Okay. You got my phone number. You can call me if anything happens. You know that. Fuck that. Right. I'm saying at the end of the day, when you having that conversation with somebody and they talking to you and you looking them in the fucking face, and then they start talking about slavery happened 400 years ago and all this other fucking shit. You tell me all about Christopher Columbus. You can tell me all about the fucking Mayflower. You can't tell me that the first slaves got here before the Mayflower, which clearly means something else. Never mind the fact that they were described as brown, not red, brown. This is documented in the text of the people we are discussing.
I think it's disgusting.
We know you're trying to say something, but we don't know what you're trying to say, man.
Okay. maybe it was nothing. I don't. It's not like she was finna chime in.
Yeah,
It
I'm
sounded
trying
like
to
she
say
was
something.
duct
Can you hear me
taping
now?
somebody with her aggressive ass. Huh? What was that?
I'm not aggressive. I think that as far as history goes, people only remember the highlights that make them look good. You know what I'm saying? White people try to control the narrative so that they're great and that they remain great. So no, they're not going to contribute the facts of Black people's puzzle statistic.
But see, I'm not disputing anyone's claim to greatness. I'm simply saying the timeline. See, when you're talking to me, you have to be cognizant of what I have endured. When you're talking to one another, you can say whatever the fuck you want to say. But when you're in a public space and you have a microphone in front of you and your voice can reach more than 3 motherfuckers, I feel like you should be obligated to understand at the end of the day, you need to be understanding of the actual timeline of the shit you're talking about. Because you can't convince me, like a motherfucker come up to me and tell me how great his grandfather is or his father. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, so which branch of the Klan was they in? How many people did they see get hung? How many hangings did they actually attend? I don't give a fuck about your grandpappy. like I don't know that motherfucker. I'm considering to myself like, okay, how many hangings did they go to? Or how many niggas did they let get snatched and turn the other cheek? Because I'm not saying that they were the aggressive racists. I'm saying they was the that's not my problem racists. So when you talk to me, you can't talk to me like that shit didn't happen. You like don't like if you just acknowledge that these things happen and then don't fucking speak to me. Because you're not finna convince me about nobody's greatness who was born after 1920, because I'm still not buying that. Like the fuck? Like somebody like, okay, so we have watched relentlessly growing up all of our years. This month, we are going to see Black folks get put on a pedestal in a way that it never happens, but once a year, right? We know we're going to see this. We're aware of it. In the process of being aware of it, I am painfully aware that during those marches, when we watch those dogs get let loose, and when we watch those water hoses get sprayed, and you tell me that your fucking pop was a fucking firefighter, somebody had to hold the hose. Somebody had to turn the water on. Somebody had to let that dog go. That's where I be at with it. And then you talk to me like I should be sympathetic to where you are now. No, I'm not sympathetic at all, bitch. You sound crazy. like that's weird as fuck. To me, I don't know. Like I'm not everybody else. Like so, I'm I'm cool. Like I don't like talking about. I really don't want to talk about history with motherfuckers because you telling me about the greatness of the generation. But they say the greatest generation is the motherfuckers who fought fucking in the world wars, right? Okay, cool, bet. Them is also the motherfuckers that was hanging niggas. Facts. That's not my fucking opinion. They went to war, and when they came home, they was like, oh, we killers. We've been killing motherfucking people of color for whatever reason. We established some shit, and now these dark motherfuckers is over here. We just gonna hang these motherfuckers up on the tree like goddamn Christmas ornaments any time of the year we want to. Because we think he looked at my old lady's ass. He's in a grocery store and he didn't move. Just so y'all know, anybody who ever hears this from now into the future, this is why I don't move for you motherfuckers in the grocery store. You bitches is gonna say, excuse me, or y'all gonna get your hands put on y'all. Facts. I want all the smoke. I ain't gonna tell the story about Mookie
Stop.
in the store.
Stop. 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 You was doing good. Keep
Okay,
going.
look. I'm not gonna go there, but right, Mook. Is it fact or cap? I ain't moving.
It is definitely not that. It is definitely. And look, this is the crazy thing about it is when you
somebody gonna move, and it ain't gonna be me.
Look, it fucked me up because when you said it, I instantly went there and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense now. Like, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Got it. Check.
Ain't happening.
Understood.
Check and make, bitches.
Understood. I don't know, man. This
keep looking at the glass long enough, things become clear.
I see, and it happens a lot when I'm talking to you, and it pisses me off every time. There's always some new shit. Every time, never fails. There's always some new shit.
Yeah, but that's listen. Look, that's the timeline. I just wanted to get the timeline out of the way. I kind of strategically waited to today to do the timeline. That's not for us because we've been busy, we've been doing shit. But this is the reason I didn't press getting this out. Today, 2022, February 1st, the beginning of Black History Month. So every time y'all hear us come on the pod, more than usual for this month, it's gonna be some black shit. It's gonna be midnight black, dark black, like woo.
Wait, what?
That sound effect, because that's
okay.
It. There ain't nothing else, bro. It's gonna be that. Like that black when you go outside at night and there's clouds, so there's no fucking ambient moonlight. All the street lights is out, nobody got their porch light on, and you can't see shit. Yeah. Just a little bit blacker than that.
All right.
That's where I'm at with it.
Word.
And I'm still to get along good guy. Like I still fuck with everybody. I thought it should be put out there that when motherfuckers is speaking and motherfuckers is talking, be cognizant and be fucking aware who you talking to, what you talking to them about. Cause you regurgitate some shit you heard on fucking Fox News. It's up to me if I decide to light you up. Like that. That's real shit. Because sometimes I listen just because I'm like, okay, you have now made me aware of where you stand and I know you're an enemy. Or at least a combatant. I don't have to necessarily respond. Right. Like I don't have to respond right now. But yeah, I thought it should be known. Anyway, we're back, y'all. Just so y'all know, y'all podcast is gonna be coming back. Mookie's gonna give us a close. All right. You have anything to add before Mookie closes us? Because we probably got like 3.5 minutes. We know you're there. I know what you did.
No, I don't have it. No, I do. Like going back, like white people and their pride and the Mayflower and shit. They never mention that the people on the Mayflower were the people in Europe that they didn't want. So you had the nasty people, the sick people, the criminals that they sent over here. There's no pride in that. You know what I'm saying? And the omission of the Black people throughout history, they're a bunch of liars. You know what I'm saying? You can't have America. You can't have anything on this planet without Black people, even going far back as the Egyptians. So If you want to talk to them about it, if they want to listen, tell them. But other than that, fuck them. I'm not explaining anything either.
Mr. Mookie, you gonna take us out of here?
All right, I'll sign us up out of here. This has been the No Filter Podcast, the triumphant return of the No Filter Podcast. All right. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you got any questions, you got a topic you want us to discuss, hit us up at the No Filter Podcast 2022 at gmail.com. Again, if you got anything you want us to talk about, you want to comment, you want to complain, that's where you do it. Do not contact me directly. The same shit applies. All right. Again, we out this bitch.